Hi, welcome back to Gold Derby. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm delighted to be joined by Daveed Diggs, a Tony and Grammy-winning actor and now an Emmy nominee this year for Hamilton the movie, which captured the original Broadway cast of the musical on stage in 2016. I guess I wanted to start there, Daveed. Congratulations on the Emmy nomination. What was it like? How'd you find out you were nominated, I guess?
How did I find out? I knew Jasmine and her dad, Jasmine Stevens Jones and Ron, were announcing the nominees, but I didn't watch. I think I was shooting that day or something. But anyway, I didn't watch. But then somebody, I guess someone from my team. Oh yeah, that's what happened. I have like a text chain with all of my various managers and publicists and everything, and it just started, oh, congratulations. I had no idea what was going on. I had to like Google search, like, is there an award show? Because also, how is it still award season? How you couldn't have told me that the Emmys hadn't happened already? Like I had no idea that was still going on.
It's pretty, the calendar is pretty long, I guess. And with this, I mean, you got nominated for a SAG award for Hamilton, and like I said, you won a Tony 5 years ago. The performance was recorded literally almost 5 years ago, right? Like July of 2016. Like you're still receiving, obviously all these accolades for the performance. When you look back on the performance itself, I guess, how do you view your own work, like with the 5 years of distance, I guess? Like, do you think of it differently, or how do you view it?
I don't think of it is the weirdest part of it. You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't come up to me at all unless something like this happens. And so, but it's such a formative part of my life and my career, obviously. But I'm I'm shooting it. I literally wrote a TV show for Jasmine. Like we met on Hamilton. Like so many things in my life changed because of my work on that show. So it's this huge moment, but it feels to me like part of a continuation. And then there's this visual component of it that's captured, which is weird for a play in the first place, right? That's not how that's supposed to work. I'm supposed to get to have this ever-changing view of what happened, but that didn't happen. We captured it. And now that has become a thing that's getting nominated for awards and stuff. And it's really, it's very strange, but it's cool. It's nice to have like a document of a thing that was very important to a lot of people at the time and have it still be important to people. Theater is one of those things that only exists in the context of the moment it's performed in. And so having, Tommy doing such a great job of capturing the thing and making it something that you could view outside of the live experience and have that be relevant to another time. We're in a different era now, you know what I'm saying? And that's pretty cool. That is very special.
Do you have, like, when you mentioned that, like capturing the performance and how it's different, obviously, to do like, doing a performance every night, it's like ephemeral or however you want to describe it. And then get like, when you knew it was going to be captured, I guess, did you do anything different with the performance at all? Or do you not worry about that? Cause your main, well, like, where is your main, like, who are you trying, when you did that show, are you still like focusing on the audience, or do you focus on the fact that it's going to be captured, and then like this is the legacy of your performance basically on visually is like this movie? So like, I guess, how did you think of it?
I did, again, like I also hadn't done really any film or television yet at that point. So like I didn't have any idea what was going on really. And we were still doing 8 shows a week. And a couple of those performances still had audiences at them. And I'm a ham, like if I'm in front of an audience, like that is who I am performing for. So that those shows to me felt exactly the same. And then the couple of days of like close-up work that we did was interesting, but it felt to me very technical. It was very like, yeah, this moment we want to get here, but like do what you normally do, and we'll tell you if it's too big or something like that. But yeah. So for me, it just continued to be about doing that show, and the magical thing about that show was really what I learned maybe by 6 months in is the directive is just have as much fun as possible. If you do that, the show really works. It's a really well built thing, and so the only thing you have to bring to it is joy. So that was nice, to get to do a film, or having done so much work since then, it can often be a lot more difficult than that, but this to me wasn't. It was just keep having a good time.
Yeah, I mean, your roles, you play Marquis. I can't imagine people don't know this because it's so incredibly
Yeah.
popular and culturally sticky. But you play Marquis de Lafayette in the first act, and then Thomas Jefferson in the second act. And they're both so much fun and like such incredible energy. Did you have a favorite of the two roles? Like, not to ask you to pick favorites, but I kind of do want to ask you a little. Did you have like did you like playing one more than the other?
No, the hype was the switch. Like that was pretty cool to get to do both of those things. To and they fed into each other really well in a certain sense. There's that synergy of them both, you know, of Lafayette being from France, come to America. And then when we meet Jefferson, he's just come back from France and he's a Francophile, but him and Lafayette are sort of opposites in that Lafayette was very nervous and unsure of himself and worked really hard to become the general he would eventually become. And Thomas Jefferson was handed everything and believed that he was great from day one, and in fact would not accept any evidence to the contrary. So it's nice to get to play both of those roles in the same night.
Yeah, they're both a lot of fun. You mentioned like you know how like you said like you did blind spotting with Jasmine and like the cast, like you guys have all obviously like incredibly been very successful. I'd say like every, you know, like it's like created stars where I was watching Schmigadoon last night and like Ariana DeBois is in there. You know what I mean? It's like
Oh man,
everywhere I'm looking, there's always like a Hamilton thing. I guess like for you and like I guess how, like you kind of mentioned this before, but how's your relationship with this show like evolved in the last like 5 years? Because like you said, like it's a totally different world we're in now compared to where we were 5 years ago. But I guess like how do you think of like the broader importance of Hamilton now as compared to like 5 years ago? Like if you could, I guess.
yeah, I think you know, my feeling when we were performing it 5 years ago at the end of Barack Obama's presidency, you know, it was sort of a celebration um, of an inclusivity in America that had always been promised and we sort of hadn't seen, you know. And that kind of, there's a lot about the Obama the Obama era that felt like that, you know. It felt like we are seeing something here that is part of the it's something that had been promised that just had yet to come to fruition. Having the show come back at the end of the Trump era, and in this summer where we had the renewed attention on Black Lives Matter due to George Floyd and all of this, and a lot of sort of attention to the racial inequities that exist in this country, it became much more of a reminder of that promise, I guess. And you know, there's something about brown bodies taking ownership over the story of the formation of this country that in 2016 felt very much like a celebration, and in 2020 felt dangerous, you know, or felt like a bit of a demand. And I like that. I like that about it. I like that it exists in two different contexts. And so, yeah, it was wild to, you know, the other thing about the 2020 version is I didn't have to build it every night. I got to be a spectator for that as well. So.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I do think that's like fast, and that's I think one of the great things about, like you said, like it's so rare for Broadway. You know, it's unique to have a Broadway production, especially something as successful as Hamilton, to be readily available. Like when we're done here, if I want to put it on Disney Plus, I could do so, and it's like great. I think having more generations and people being able to watch it in the context of their time is like really kind of a gift, I guess, or you know, like a very cool kind of thing that I think is like going to be special and help extend the life and the relevancy of Hamilton even further.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I also think there's something about the success of it that maybe is instructive to how we continue the legacy of theater. I'm a theater guy and I like live performance. And I do, you know, I'm glad the tours are starting back up, and because there is something about building it every night, and that, you know, I've seen almost every company do the show, and it's a different show, and it's the show about those bodies and those humans and their dreams and aspirations, and that's something you only get live. And I don't know, I think the whole creative team did such a great job of capturing the liveness of it, right? Even though it was over a few different nights, you see a bunch of things, like the camera makes it a point of picking up some of the like little stuff that's happening in the background that wasn't part of the show. You know, you get that in there. And so I hope it does this trick of bringing more attention and desire to see things when they really happen. Because when you watch that, you feel like, oh, that was one night, and it could be totally different on a different night. And that's I would like people to start to crave that feeling.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned, like, you were talking briefly about how, like, you know, before when you were doing the capture, you had not done a lot of film work, but I mean, like, just I was like looking at your resume just in the last like couple of years, the things you've done are so broad. You were Frederick Douglass in Good Lord Bird. You obviously created like the show of Blind Spotting. You have Snowpiercer. Season 3, I guess, is coming up, right? And you play Sebastian or voice Sebastian in Little Mermaid. It's just an incredibly eclectic resume. I guess, can you talk a little about like that immediate period after you left Hamilton, like how you kind of went about and thought about your career going forward? Because I feel like, yeah, you have such a wealth of different things. I think it probably would have been easy for you maybe, or potentially people, to like try to typecast you in like the wild energy kind of thing that you do in Hamilton, and you kind of seemingly have like not avoided that, but like done things done things just different, I think. And I find that really, really compelling to watch for you as a performer, I guess. So can you talk a little about that?
Yeah, there's a nice, so I had never, you know, I wasn't shooting to be in a Broadway musical. I'd never, you know, that wasn't on my radar. So this thing happened, but I had sort of a trajectory as an actor, which granted didn't involve making much money, but like was, you know, I always did a bunch of different things, taking a bunch of different roles. And I was a writer, and I, you know, a musician and all of these things. And that was just the hodgepodge of it was how I worked. And then Hamilton happened. And the really fortunate thing about the way Hamilton worked is people were so enamored with it when they got to see it, including people who make TV shows, that they would be so excited to meet with you, you know, which is a rare way to get introduced to the business. And so like people were so excited to take meetings, and they always wanted to know what I wanted to do, instead of being like, I have this thing, I know you did this and I have that exact thing for you to do over here. Everybody was like, oh man, you're so great. What do you want to do? And I was like, well, since you asked, I really like sci-fi, and like, I would like to write this, you know, if people are going to ask, then I'll answer the question. So yeah, so I think it was rarefied air that I was in as an actor there, and I had a team really ready to take advantage of it also, and to sort of monitor that very important time period right after the show, where like those choices matter a lot. And I think it was, to a degree, intentional to be like, all right, we've done this. Let's make sure we do something over here. Let's make sure we continue making this, you know, weirdo rap music we make. Let's keep all of these things going so that I never end up in a situation where I'm just playing Thomas Jefferson over and over again.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think obviously, like I said, like you look at the resume, it's definitely worked. I think that strategy, and it's like really great. As a viewer, I'm like, it's exciting to watch you in things, because I'm always like, oh, I don't actually know what I'm going to get in a good way. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like you're not like playing the same stuff over and over again. So I think it's really cool.
Yeah, glad it's working.
Yeah. Let me ask you, I know, I'm sure you can't talk about Little Mermaid that much, but I guess I just wanted to ask you one thing about playing or voicing Sebastian and getting to sing Under the Sea. I have a 3-year-old daughter, and she's been very into Under the Sea lately. We've been listening to it a lot. Wow. That song is so iconic, obviously won an Oscar for Best Original Song. How do you go about like making that your own, I guess?
It's so terrifying, man. Like, I was opening night. I remember I was 9 years old when that film came out. Me and my dad went to the Grand Lake Theater in Oakland and stood in a line. One of the only movies I've ever stood in a line to see either. I remember doing that. And so, yeah, all of those songs, it was crazy, even auditioning for it, which was kind of, the audition kind of popped up out of nowhere. And I was like, I don't really think they really want me for this. My manager was like, will you please go do this audition? I don't like auditioning. I pass on most of them, mostly out of laziness. And she's like, just go. And I didn't have any time to prepare, but I was in the car and I'm going, and I like, oh, well, let me listen to these songs again. And I played the song and I was like, oh, I know every word of this song, having not listened to it in at least 15 years, right? And Kiss the Girl too. Like I was, oh, these are, it's so in here. And so I think once I got the role, trying to figure out my Sebastian and really separate it from that, right? So I didn't listen to it anymore after that, really. And I asked for all the instrumentation as early as possible, and just wanted to really make sure that it existed as far away from my memory of the piece as possible, so that I could just not just be copying it, but be giving something of my own to it.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, you're totally right. Like the Disney music, like Little Mermaid, and like I said, like we were also doing a lot of Lion King, and it's like things I haven't seen in 30 years, and like the music is so it's ingrained, right? Like the songs are
Yeah.
so good, they're so well constructed. I feel like it's like they're great now still. It's just really fun.
Yeah, well, and also rest in peace to Samuel Wright, who
Yeah,
passed recently.
yeah.
You know,
And I guess last thing, before we wrap up, I know bring it back to Hamilton. Obviously, you won the Tony Award. That Tony Award was so special, not just because of obviously the Hamilton like coronation, but also I know it was like right after the Pulse nightclub shooting. It was a really emotional night. I guess can you talk a little about like what do you remember about that night and that ceremony? I guess because it was. I definitely think that's one of the most memorable Tony Awards in the last like 10 years or so.
yeah, it was all such a blur to me, but like the that night in particular, but that time was really the thing about the Tonys, in a lot of ways, it's nonsense, right? I mean, it's a celebration of like 5 blocks worth of art that, like, for a lot of reasons, some good and some not so good, have been like made the pinnacle of what is theater. But the vast majority of theater in the world, and even in the country, and even in New York, gets created not as part of Broadway. And it's like, so it's this very sort of self-congratulatory thing, the Tonys, in some ways. But in other ways, it focuses the energy of everybody who likes theater on theater. And those moments allow this is sort of every award show, I guess, right? But like, but something about Broadway having as big of a reach as it does, like, allows you to decide what the politics of your industry are for a night, and really decide what is it that we stand for. And so in the wake of that, and in the wake of so many other things that happened while I was in that show, like and after it, when Mike Pence came to the show, and so after I was gone, but like the show has always had to, and I guess every Broadway show, because of the reach of it, because it does have eyes on it that aren't just in the theater, has to decide, what do we represent as a community, and you have to do that over and over again, and that's it's wonderful, and there's a lot of responsibility there, actually. So
Yeah, no, it's great, and I think that's great. Daveed Diggs, an Emmy nominee for Hamilton the movie. Like I said, a Tony winner, a Grammy winner, and just an all around good guy. Thank you so much, Daveed. Appreciate you doing this.
hey, thanks for having me.